Welcome to the Halftime Huddle, another opportunity halfway through the week to spend some time refocusing, getting your head around the fact that you had all these plans for the beginning of the week and now it's Wednesday. It also doesn't help that it's getting to the end of December and you think about Christmas as well. So we'll talk about a little bit about that as well too. I'm glad. I will just make sure if for those people who don't know me or don't know this is the Halftime Huddle. It's an opportunity halfway through the week to spend a bit of time just refocusing. We're spending a little bit of time chatting, and I've got a lovely guest I'm looking forward to introduce to you in a bit. And we get an opportunity just to get yourself ready for the next half of the second half of the week. So if you're new to this, I'd love to see your comments. Say hi. If you're watching this on the replay, please do comment and we'll engage with you. I hope those of you who are watching us on currently, at the moment, this is a new thing for us, on both Facebook, LinkedIn and YouTube, may have an opportunity to say hi. It'll be there. Please do interact with us. And if you have any comments, my guest, who I'll introduce in a second, and I am more than happy to engage with you either live now or later on when you come on later on. So please do say hi because we'd love to hear from you. But with that, I like I said, I have been looking for people to talk to over the time. I spent the last year talking a lot about myself, bringing people when I can do, and I'm having the great opportunity to now spend a lot of time talking with some really interesting people, and today is no exception. Today we've got a lovely lady who I met at a networking group. Her name is Lee Cooper, and I won't tell you an awful lot about her because I'll give her the opportunity to say hi, but I'd love for you to say hi, talk to Lee, and introduce Lee. So here we go. This is Lee. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you.
Good. Like I said, we met on a networking meeting. I was doing the rounds up and down the UK, and we met you on one end of the UK. Over in, is it Cornwall? I met you on the
Yeah,
yeah.
currently in Cornwall at the moment.
Indeed, and we'd love to hear a little bit, maybe in your story while you're there. Um, Indeed. So there you go.
Definitely.
Yeah, I can
So
say
thank you.
I
Thanks
can't
a
wait.
lot.
So just a little bit. So for those people who don't know you, a little bit about who you are and what you do, and we can take it from there. So Lee.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm currently an online health coach, and this is a new business for me, which started after COVID. So my background is, I'll try and keep it short and sweet. I started off as a personal trainer. I went into group fitness for many years, which was my passion. Burnt myself out. Then I retrained in yoga and all things holistic like meditation, which I really found was a turning point for me. And then, yeah, I was kind of a bit lost in life, and I ended up, I literally, I had a little mini at the time, and I was living in London. I was sort of on my mum's couch, had no kind of permanent abode, and I just packed up my mini and drove to Newquay in Cornwall. Didn't have any friends or any job opportunities, and I just had this. I knew I wanted to be by the sea, and I'd been there once. It was the only place in the southwest of England that I knew. So stayed in a bed and breakfast, and the rest is history, as they say. I've now got a rescue dog. I did have a business teaching yoga and fitness, and obviously that kind of dried up with COVID. So I retrained, or kind of added to my qualifications, and trained in like nutrition and health, and established my now business called Body Mastery. So I'm an online coach for women, and predominantly I help busy mums get back into shape. But of course, it's never about that. It's more about getting their mental mind back into shape. And then I'm very much believe once you focus on the mind, then the body follows. So all of those lovely benefits of being lean and having that energy come from a really strong mindset that you've worked out. So yeah, that's me.
Sounds like an interesting journey. I can imagine just packing up in in a mini and driving down to Newquay. I love Newquay myself. We're about halfway between London and Newquay, basically, more or less.
Oh, wow.
um,
Perfect.
but and we love going to Newquay. We have very good times around Newquay and Bude, around that neck of the woods. It's lovely sort of area. It's quite courageous to just get in the car and drive almost the other side of the country.
Well, I don't think I realised how courageous it was until I was here, and I think I'd only paid for a couple of nights bed and breakfast, and then I was like, oh no, I really need to find somewhere to permanently live. I don't have a job, so how am I gonna? So it's like the chicken and egg syndrome.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that Linda's just said sounds like a great adventure. Thank you, Linda. I think one of the things that I very much believe and hold on to now is that if you've got a really strong desire, then you will find a way. If there's a big enough why, you'll find a way to make it work. And I think that's what ultimately happened is that determination of, I don't want to go back to London. I don't want to go back to my old life. And yeah, here we are now.
Indeed. So you didn't actually put a particular time. How long have you been down in Newquay? When was this epic journey down from London?
Yeah, so it's about 6 years ago.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness!
I can't. And I also had I had these visions of walking on this long sandy beach. I didn't even at the time know any of the beaches in Newquay. I would Google them and kind of look at like Watergate Bay. I was like, wow, that looks like a really beautiful stretch of beach. I had these visions of rescuing this dog because I'd had previously had dogs. My one had passed, unfortunately. So I had these visions of walking along this long sandy beach with a dog. And now, sadly, it's nice that I'm talking about this actually, because I think I do very much take that for granted. Every day I probably am fortunate that obviously if the tide's out and it's nice, I'll get to take my dog Sky. But I think sometimes, you just get too used to that. But that was always a big dream of mine.
And from what I remember of time down in Bude, it's Bude and Newquay and Cornwall, it's one of those places. No matter what the weather, it's gorgeous. In the sun, is amazing. In the colder, more it's sort of atmospheric. It's a lovely feeling. Yeah,
definitely. I think the sea as well. Like, I mean, I can't really call myself a surfer. I'm surfer in training.
It is Surfer HQ, isn't it?
But just watching today it was really still, but I think a couple of days ago it's been ferocious, and that is just fascinating to watch as well. And especially if you get a chance to see some of the surfers that go out in those conditions and catch waves, it's just amazing. It's really inspiring.
So it's a move now. You'd never go back, or would you go back?
Well, yeah, that's it. I think the other thing is what's affected, like with COVID, people not being able to travel. So Newquay's always been very busy with tourism, but it was like tourism on steroids. It was absolutely crazy. And then what you find is, particularly during those busy periods, is that you kind of avoid all of the places that you enjoy going. So you avoid the beaches and you avoid the coffee shops that you go to. And it's almost like another lockdown. You sort of end up leading like this quite solitary lifestyle. So I've toyed with the idea of Devon, keeping it still in the southwest of England. I know that they have, they're very busy again with tourism, but perhaps not on such a big scale. So it swings and roundabouts. It's trying to weigh everything up, but yeah. So that's the only thing that's kind of tipped me a little bit to think.
Yeah, to be honest, you did pick Newquay, which is a mecca for a lot of people. Yeah, pick one of the
exactly.
Indeed, there are some lovely places that are a little quieter in Cornwall that still have the same sort of feel, but not. Yeah, but you're right, Newquay, and because I think I wouldn't classify necessarily my son as a surfer, but he likes surfing and he's been surfing a number of times down there. Newquay is where he goes.
Yeah,
And
I bet.
all his mates go. Yeah, he used to go down there. So and he loved the the surfing and all of the other experiences you get down there. So yeah, I can see how it can be one of those. Well, what do they call them? They have a name for the is it grockles and something?
I don't know. I'm still learning the lingo.
But yeah, indeed. I can say if you moved a little bit to Devon, I think you're right. Devon probably would have a similar sort of seasonal challenge with these
Yeah,
people.
yeah. And I think as well with COVID, and I mean,
Hmm.
there's been many benefits that have come out of COVID, and I think the fact that it's more accessible to work from home. So
Yeah.
if you've got a dog or you're a parent, you can kind of multitask. And but I think what that's kind of brought with it is that people that perhaps were in London can now have the opportunity of living their dream lifestyle. They can move down to somewhere like Cornwall and work from home, and then just travel a couple of times a month back to London. So of course that's made it harder for people to with housing and stuff. And
Hmm.
is a big issue down here now.
No,
So you
I
solve
can
one
understand.
problem, but then you create another.
Absolutely, yeah, I can understand. So, but although I did hear that the London is starting to get busy again, but you're right. There was a mass exodus of people not wanting to stuck in their little tiny box with no green areas whatsoever in London, whereas they wanted to be out because they could be anywhere working, really, couldn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
indeed,
so true.
indeed. So, talking, this is like I said, the halftime huddle. I loved your origin story, and like I say, and it does inspire us to think, well, maybe we can just get in a mini or whatever, pack your stuff in, and go and visit, even if it's just a visit. Yeah, why not? Why not just spend a bit of time and go and explore? England and the UK got some wonderful little nooks and crannies and places to just spend a bit, spend some quality time with. And in a way, we haven't ourselves, made the most of it. But the fact that people are doing what they call their staycations is a great opportunity to explore. So, which is good and bad for those people who are in their local locations where they're turning up. But for the rest of us, it's a great opportunity to see what a wonderful country we live in, etc. So sort of back to where it is. You deal with you work predominantly, you say, online now. Is that something that happened due to COVID, or is that something you're going to carry on doing, or are you going to
Yeah,
sort of mix
great.
and
Great question. Well, again, it sort of leads into another story. So
okay?
I try and keep it very concise.
We all love don't the beauty, and this is and I was going to say that, and the beauty of being online is we it doing this kind of stuff. The only limits to our time is your time and my time.
Oh,
So
brilliant.
if you've
Thank you,
got
Mark.
whatever time you've got, we can make the story short or long.
Thank you. So I spent again. This was when I was living in London, and the cost of living was very expensive. Housing was always a big issue. I think at the time I was working 7 days a week. I was teaching classes every day without a break, and so long story short, I packed up my life and moved to an island called Gozo, which is
Oh,
a
I've got
Maltese island.
fond memories of
Really.
Gozo. Love Gozo.
I was really lucky. I managed to get an opportunity to work for a new kind of detox center that was opening up. And my role was, well, I was kind of multifaceted. I was teaching classes, was taking people on walks, I was giving talks, I was looking after the people, their emotional kind of process that they were going through. Oh, Linda loves Gozo as well.
Yeah.
It's funny that you guys have been there because not many people would know about it.
No,
It is a hidden gem.
absolutely it is of the Blue Lagoon. I think is the famous place in there,
Yeah,
and
that's
that and that
right.
and that window or something, that arch thing
Yeah,
that's
that
now fallen down, I
which
think.
yeah, I know. I've got some pictures of that, and the long and the short of it is that it was a fantastic opportunity, but unfortunately, 2 years into the job, it didn't really work out for me. I think that kind of my values and the direction that the company was heading in, it didn't match. So I thought, I really want to stay on this island, and I don't know how I'm going to do this, because a lot of the jobs there, it's very much like Cornwall. The priority is to the local people, to employ local people. And so that's very much the mindset there. And I thought, it would just be amazing if I could live here and have like an online business. That was the only way I could see out of my situation. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to make that happen in the time constraints that I had, which was that was the stepping stone from. I then moved back to my mum's on her couch in London, and then ended up in Newquay. But what it had started is it had started that kind of thought. It planted that seed of, wouldn't it be amazing if I could have an online business where I wasn't kind of tied to a particular place. I could have the dream of living in Gozo or Cornwall. And so that process was started sort of way back then, which is probably 7 years ago now. And I tried many things over the course of time. I tried, one of the other things that I lost quite a bit of money through that was tried to sell on Amazon.
Oh, okay. Come
up with a product.
Yeah.
And I lost a lot of money doing that. And I think the lesson that I learned is that it's very much, especially with being self-employed and having your own business, is to follow your passion, because it is tough. There's huge learning curve. There's a lot of hours, and if you're doing something to make money, I think that kind of mindset, the universe kind of conspires against you. But if you're doing something that's from the heart, not that it doesn't always work out, it's not always rosy garden, but I think you've got a better sort of chance at it. So COVID hit, and that really kicked my backside and sort of forced my hand. And it's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's it is. I think the thing with having an online business is, obviously because of COVID as well, but even more so the way that we're moving, everything is virtual, and we're always on our phones, everything's online. It's now, as a business, how do you stand out? Because there's there's so many people now, there's so much information. And so I think that's the biggest challenge that I have currently, is how do I stand out and showcase what I'm offering in amongst a crowd. But I do love what I do, and I think it's amazing to have that opportunity to work from home. I've got my dog that you can probably see popping into the background there.
Just about,
I'm also a soon-to-be mother, so I'll be a single mum, needing to support my child that's arriving in end of December. So,
oh my goodness, very soon.
So to be able to have a business where I can be at home with my dog and my little boy, again, works very well for me. But also it's exciting to think that you can help people that you otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to reach. So the short answer to your question is yes. I very much love being online and want to kind of work on that aspect of my business.
Absolutely, and I think you sort of you hit two nails on the head there. The first nail is by opening up the opportunity to be virtual and online, you do open the opportunity to reach people you wouldn't necessarily reach who weren't in Newquay, say. Or whatever, you can reach them and help them and support them. So it widens your ability to support and help people, which is, like I say, if you're reaching out in a way with a passion for what you do and a desire to help and support people with either your product or your service, then like I said, you reach more people. But and equally, the other nail you hit on the head is the fact that everybody's doing it. So you've stepped from a little pool of let me say, I can't really see it, of Newquay and the people you meet around in Newquay or down on the beach doing the surfing, through to you're now with all the rest of the people meeting everybody and anyone everywhere and anywhere, and you have to think, what how do I distinguish myself from what and that's part and parcel of, I think, personality and the personal touch, and which is why these kind of things, and like I said, we prior to doing a lot of these conversations, we get on earlier, we have a little bit of chat, talk about how it's going through, and then we end up having a bit of chat, and we talk about all kinds of things. And I think we should have had this conversation on live. And one of the conversations we were talking about was the fact that when you sort of do this, when you follow your dream, is to work out how to stand about, and part and parcel of it is to take the opportunity to show who you are and what you dream and what you stand for, talk about your story, which was this opportunity here, and I said, I'd encourage you and everyone and anyone to go on anything and everyone talk. If anyone says, even with a small little opportunity to go and talk to someone online, do it, because you get better at sharing who you are, and that's what I think people will buy into, especially if you're doing something that's a passion project and a project that is quite intimate, and it also widens your reach to those people who may or may not see what you do because they're not in that network you're building. So this opportunity is what we should all try, and like I said, it's your personality and who you are that comes across in a conversation like this is why people think, oh, I can spend some time with Lee, I can talk to Lee because she's got this story and I resonate with her just packing stuff into a mini and taking her life on a journey. I resonate with that. I think I can spend some time with her. Whereas someone who would offer the same sort of services to someone else, then you might not resonate with them. And it's by giving the opportunity to have that conversation and share that story is where you make the connections. So
yeah, that's so true.
So I'm thinking, like I said, any opportunity and every opportunity is to go for it. And Linda, who's still listening, thank you, Linda, as said, congratulations. So I think she's talking about your little baby Cooper.
Thank you very much, Linda. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Just in time. Is it going to be before or after Christmas? Is it going to be a...
Well, he's due on the 18th of December, and I did freak out the other day because the midwife came round to talk about the whole birthing process and did say that there's a possibility that particularly with the first child that you can go sort of 2 weeks overdue, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm so ready to bring him into the world now. I'm currently 37 weeks, so the thought of another 5 weeks as opposed to 3 weeks just freaks me out. So I'm hoping that he's or more like praying that he's going to arrive on time.
The other option is they can come quite a lot earlier as well. So like I said,
that's
sounds like
true.
you're prepared and ready, which is good. But some people aren't.
Yeah, I would rather he be early than late, because I think being quite an active person in my mind and in my body, that's been one of the hardest challenges during the pregnancy. Is that's kind of, I've had to sort of surrender, I suppose, and just be happy just to be, which is tough when you're active.
No, indeed, and that is having had 4 children, and the secret is, people will know, Linda is the better half of the web half. So Linda Webb is Mrs. Linda Webb, essentially we've had 4 children, and it takes a while, but that was definitely the lesson we have to learn is just let it happen, because your life has been taken over now by that thing that's coming, and you just have to do what you can do to keep that thing safe. And every day that person is warm, healthy, well, safe and happy is a success, and that's what you got to learn.
Yeah. That's a good point, and I think I'll need to have that as my mantra.
Absolutely, but it is tough, especially when you're thinking, it can't go there. Anyhow, you're going to have fun, so I'll leave it to that. And so yeah, again, as Linda said, congratulations. The other thing that that I wanted to talk a little bit, and what we talk about a bit here is running a business, and you will know that from what you're doing, is tough. There's all kinds of things. One of the things I come across when I'm talking to people is, especially when you're following your passion, you start your business because you have a passion to do what you need to do, what you do. You love building things or creating things, or you love helping people and supporting people in whatever service you provide, and you just want to do more of that. But running a business is a whole new different thing, because essentially you end up having to be like a corporation of one. So you have to be your marketing manager, you have to be your HR, your finance manager, etc. So one of the things that I quite like to understand from people, because it's different for different people, and obviously and intriguing, is I use the term sort of superpower and kryptonite, because I'm a superhero geek, but essentially everybody has a thing that they like to do in the business, and it's unusual sometimes what it is, and also everybody has that thing, that kryptonite, that thing that they hate, but they know they have to do, they hate it. So I'd be interested to know what is the one thing in running a business that you found that is quite interesting and that you quite like actually doing, and is different. So what will you say is your superpower?
Well, it's an interesting answer as well, because the thing that I love doing, I also I don't want to say I hate it at the same time, but I struggle with as well. So one of the things that I love doing is providing content, whether that's for my website, whether that's for my social media, and I actually love to do sort of I'm still getting used to this, like Instagram reels, so videos. I love picking a topic, researching it, and deciding what information I'm going to give, and then just presenting it. And I also love being authentic and talking about myself, but also with that I struggle with that, because when you go on to places like whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, it's so hard not to compare yourself to others, and it's so hard to not be on there and not see someone who you see is really successful and use that in a positive way and think, wow, if they've had success, then that must mean that I can too. Instead, that I think we have that reptilian mindset of oh wow, that means there's less to go round, I'm failing, I'm falling short in comparison to them. So it's a double-edged sword is what I feel, because the one thing that I love is also the thing that I use to kind of beat myself up with as well, because I compare myself to what other people are doing, and it might be that they've put out better content than me, that their website or their social media looks more presentable than mine, maybe they're getting more engagement, and it's that comparison that is so hard to kind of, I don't know whether ignore it or use it in a positive way.
No, I agree, and exactly. It's so many of us fall foul of that, and logically and rationally that you should be comparing your journey, how you are improving and not improving, and that's the thing that matters. Whether you're getting better at doing it than you were, and that's the journey you should be focused on. But you're right, it's so hard to not look at Joe Bloggs, who's doing so much better than you, and etc. It's very hard, and again, it's another one of those things where for some of us it holds us back. Some of us, you think we're never gonna be able to be as good as this paragon of social media or whatever. Say he's on all the time, he's doing everything, he's facing everybody, he's got hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm never going to be able to do that, and that holds them back. That stops them from even trying. And others, you think, well, I'll do what I can do, and we'll see how we get there, because it's a journey. And it's hard to get through that, and I think that's where having some people around you to help and support you is vital. And I'm tooting my own little trumpet here, but essentially having yourself a group of people who can keep you sensible, keep you reminding you the fact that you're looking at the stuff in a slightly unhelpful way, basically, and they just remind you and ground you in that essentially you know, which is another thing where keeping some kind of record. We forget how, when we're doing things day by day, we forget the journey we got to and where we started from and the things we've succeeded and the things we've done along the way. By, you know, one of the advantages, one of the things, you know, this is a case in point, doing these lives. You start off doing these lives and you think, you know, it's rubbish. I'm talking to people. I'm in and ahhing, and I still am and ah, and I'm doing all this kind of stuff, and I'm talking gibberish, and no one's watching, and etc. And then you save it and you record it. Look back in the thing you did 2 or 3 years ago, and you think, well, I have come a long way. So you sometimes forget the journey you've made because you're always thinking of the journey you've got in front of you and where you are now.
That's such a good point.
And so making sure you keep a good eye on what you've done and a good we're sort of slipping into the next category of questions. And I haven't. The next thing I want to ask you is what is the thing that you really hate, that really you would love to give away as your kryptonite? But we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's talked about one of the tools, and we'll talk about tools in a little bit. Is a journal. I keep a daily journal, and it's one of those things that when you look back, you realize how far you've come because you're keeping records. Wow. But we'll talk a little bit about what you use and not use. But your business kryptonite, it's good. I like the way that it also your superpower is also your, in some respects, and that often happens. You reach out for, and your strength is also one of your weaknesses. But in terms of weaknesses, everybody has, and I call it kryptonite again because of my geek nature. But it's that thing that really makes you cringe. And for me, I'm rubbish at paperwork and an online form. You know, if I have to fill out a form to do something or to apply for something, or it just makes me squirm and I hate it. How about you? Is there anything particularly that you would as soon as you have the money you'll give away in a flash?
Yeah, definitely. What I foresee or dream of in my future is I would love to be the person that still provides the content, so writes the articles, does the videos, writes the posts. I want my business to be me. You know, I don't want to hand it over and someone else write on behalf of me. But what I would love is for someone to then take all of that information and deal with the social media so that I don't have to go on there. I don't have to see it because
good idea. Very good.
I think I love social media. I think, you know, there's so much positivity that has come out of it, you know, networking, connecting people, information. But I also find for me, I get into an incredibly unhealthy pattern with it. So I think my life would be better if I didn't have to, you know, obviously still have that connection with friends and family and being able to see what they're doing and how their life is unfolding. But to not have to every day think about Facebook engagement or LinkedIn engagement. And it's overwhelming.
And definitely. And that's one of, you know, that definitely is the thing that can keep us down a little bit, because you're forever thinking of not necessarily, you know, what it really means. I mean, and someone sort of put it into context a little bit. We're talking about, you know, your followings on Facebook or something. You see the people with the thousands or the multiple thousands of followings, and you think, well, I could never aspire. You know, it would be really hard. And then you look at yours, and you've got maybe 100, 200, 300, whatever. And then, but someone put it into context with me: is if you potentially had a room with those 300 or 400 people in, and you could talk in front of those 300 or 400 people, you'd be made up. You'd be brilliant.
Yeah,
It'd be superb.
that's a really good point.
So don't worry about that. Even a small sort of circle of 10, 15, 20 people that you can chat to. That puts it a little bit into more context. You'd love to, if you could see them face to face. It'd be brilliant. To be honest, a room full of 300 people would be quite daunting. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so. So in a way, it's not bad that it's 300 people on on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, rather than 300 people in a hall somewhere that you'd have to stand up in front of. So like I said, I'm not sure I'd be doing this if I was having to do it in front of 300 or 400 people, let alone the tens of thousands of people you see in some other people. So, but you're right, it is difficult, and it's also one of the good things is to understand where your strengths and weaknesses lie, because often people, and I come across this a reasonable amount, often people don't necessarily recognize that and feel they have to do everything. And whereas in my opinion, and this is obviously an opinion, they would be better off focusing on the thing they're good at rather than trying to be and for those people who are listening, sorry about this, less shit at the thing that they're not very good at. Because it's better to get someone who's good at that to do it for you. So brilliant. So we'll be looking out for later on the line to have a social media manager sometime.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I'd love that.
So if any social media managers out there who want to practice and have a experiment, then Lee's looking for some support.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. So yeah, thank you. Like I said, I think that's one of the conferences. It's quite interesting because it's not always what you think it is. It's not always the thing that people hate doing is not always what I hate is paperwork. So there are some other things that people hate doing, and it's not always the thing that people like doing that you think they would. So I think that's an interesting twist on the fact that it's essentially the same thing as your superpower and kryptonite.
Yeah, it is exactly. Yeah,
absolutely. No, which is I think is good. So I sort of skirted around this next sort of area when I talked about the tools that I use, and one of the tools, obviously, and we've talked about this before, is the thing that's doing this. This is a tool that I don't think I'd be without now, because I use it in everything. Now that we're virtual, I use it in Zoom. I use it all over the place to communicate with people. And it's for those people who want to know, it's a tool that's on the Mac. It's eCam Live, but there are other tools the same sort of thing. Another tool that I use, and I sort of schedule, is a journal. I use journal regularly, and I wouldn't be without them. My wife loves it. We talk about Gozo. We went on holiday to Gozo, and I had to take my journal with me. I couldn't be there without journaling. So, which is quite nice. It has a record of the holiday over there, so I can go back and have a look at my time in Gozo. But so what are the other things, tools and techniques and tricks that you have built up that are now part and parcel of who you are and what you do? So
yeah, I think a lot of them is for my mindset, because I really feel like we focus so much on working our bodies out. I haven't exercised today, and there's such a massive focus, but we never pay too much attention to our mindset, and I really do feel like it's like a muscle. It needs to be worked out every day, and I want to be completely transparent, and I don't want to make out that I'm something I'm not. Consistency is a work in progress for me. But one of the tools, and I've actually got my mum involved in this recently, is and it's just, I've done so many different meditations, visualizations over the years, but this one resonates with me. So Tony Robbins, big fan of his, the self-help guru, many sort of names that he comes under, and he does what's called priming. Uh-huh. So you can find it on YouTube, you can find it on his website, and it's about 15-20 minutes, and you're supposed to do it in the morning, but to be honest, the way that my schedule works, it's normally in the afternoon that I do it. And it's, to me, it's like a meditation. He just basically gets you to think about things that you're grateful for, accomplishments that you've made in life. Then he sort of finishes off with getting you to think about the things that you want to draw into your life and imagining how that would feel. And I find that is so, when I do that, and when I'm consistent with it, it really helps me focus, because on what I want to, how I want to live, the person that I want to be, what I want my future to be like. Because it's so easy, like we were just saying, to focus on all the stuff that we're not doing, all our shortcomings. And I think when you're in that kind of energy, when you're in that mindset, the only thing that you can draw towards you is more of the same. Yeah. And there's another guy, I think, who's I find him amazing, but he's so scientific and very academic that he often loses me. But his name is Joe Dispenza. Oh, yeah. And he talks about quantum physics, and I listened to him, which is another thing that's just mind blowing. And he said again that the problem is with our human psychology and our reptilian brain is we're trying to almost fix ourselves and our lives by focusing on logic, like how am I gonna get out of debt, how am I gonna magic these clients, how am I gonna lose weight. Whereas if we focus on sort of our future and kind of what that would look and feel like, what it would taste like, and almost visit that place more frequently, then we stand a better chance of getting there and trying to solve it with logic. So I think that's been so helpful. And then off the back of that, again, I'm not too religious with it, but what I find it really helps me, and I tend to do this when I'm in the car more than anything, but I have been known to do it on dog walks, is affirmations. So again, I'll go onto YouTube, and there's a particular YouTube one that I follow, and it's just 15 minutes, and it feels ridiculous. And my mum did this with me, has done this with me for a few weeks, and it's saying things, and you might not even feel them, like I am a confident person, I love myself, I love my life. And at the time, you don't even necessarily have to believe it or feel it, but just saying it. I really do believe that it works with the subconscious, and that eventually, over time, it's no different to if you keep saying, "Oh, I'm such an idiot." If you say that enough times when you make a mistake, eventually you will believe that I'm an idiot. I always make mistakes in this area of my life. So you're constantly sending that negativity. But if you're constantly saying things, even if you don't believe them, but eventually you said them that frequently, that you're starting to believe, like, yeah, actually I am a confident person, and then your actions start reflecting that of a confident person. It's so weird how it unfolds and it works. But I think those are the key things that have really helped me in my mindset and keep focused. Yeah.
No, absolutely, and there's a lot of you're right. There's a lot of Joe Dispenza and on all the theory behind it. There's a lot of theory coming more and more around the way our brains work and the way our brains our brains are focused on things. There's the yellow car syndrome sort of thing. If you talking about a yellow car, you see them everywhere. If you start talking about being an idiot, you see all the things where you are being an idiot. If you start thinking about how you're confident, your mind will be focused on of reaffirming that, and it will focus on that, and it'll see more of that. Even though essentially, the number of times you trip over like an idiot is exactly the same. The number of times that you do something really confident are exactly the same. But you're focused on it, and you'll see it more. And it'll be, like I said, it'll be one of those virtual spirals of confirmation of your affirmations, if you see what I mean. So yeah, there's loads. And those are great little tips. And I could just imagine you walking down on the beach in Newquay saying, "I am confident."
I must admit, I have where I used to live, which is just outside of Newquay, and there was a very quiet dog walk. And so I was very confident that I could do these affirmations and no one would see me. And then a couple of times you would bump into a couple walking their dog or a family, and just mid sentence of an affirmation. So yeah, it's been quite comical. Normally the car is the best place as well. If you know you've got a long drive or 20-30 minute drive, that's the best place, because you can really say them with meaning and conviction, because you know that no one's going to hear it apart from the dog, maybe
in the background. He's thinking, yeah, I've heard this before, get on with it.
Yeah.
No, it's brilliant. And yeah, and like I said, thank you for that. And yeah, both of them are very, very, very keen on re-engineering your mental attitudes and process towards a more positive, self-affirming type mental attitude. Because you're right, we have a natural tendency, and it's stood us in good stead to get us to where we are now, a natural tendency to focus on the scary things, the negative things, the things that might kill you, the things that might cause pain, etc., to avoid that as much as possible, to get you safely from one day to the next day, rather than pointing in the direction of potential pain, just for the possibility of gain at the end of it. Your like I say, your mind will divert you away from that pain, because it's seen pain and doesn't want any more of it, because it knows it's not comfortable. But yeah, and again, there's a lot of nowadays there's a lot of people spending a lot of time focusing on why that is, and why our brains work like that and especially when you talk about the viewpoint you of making a really compelling future that your brain is then tasked to make real, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that you don't necessarily know of, and there are a lot of things that your brain can do much better without you getting in the way of it. So if you just set it on a task, it'll go and get it and achieve it, which is a sort of part of that self-fulfilling type sort of prophecy type thing. If you're saying you're rubbish, the brain will do all kinds of things to make sure that that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So no, thank you for that. That's it's brilliant. So what we'll try and do as well in the comments, if we can, we'll get some links to where they are, so people can follow and have a look at them as well. So, which is brilliant. So thank you for that. We talked a little bit about how we met, and we met in a networking meeting, I think. And like I said, one of the advantages of being virtual now is I can go for a networking meeting up in Scotland, I can go for a networking meeting down in Cornwall, and I can go for a networking meeting just around the corner, all from the comfort of my own my own home or my own Zoom call. So what is it apart from sort of the networking, what else do you do to regularly keep in contact with your colleagues, your customers, and that kind of stuff? Do you have any techniques and tools you use that you could probably share with us to
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think I'm still, again, that's a work in progress, but I think what I would say is I very much use social media, so it's trying to really hone in on who I want to work with, who is my ideal client, and where would they be? Where am I going to find them? What's their pattern of behaviour? What are they going to be looking at? And I, to be honest with you, the social media side of things I've found a real struggle with in terms of the engagement. So I've kind of taken my focus away from that. Like, I'll still provide content for Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, but I try to seek out opportunities for collaboration. So it might be that there's a successful health site or women's empowering group, and I will try to sort of contact them and say, this is me, this is who I am. Can I write you an article? Can I offer a free workshop for your your clients. And it's trying to sort of seek out those opportunities, because I think the more exposure, the more opportunities that you get to talk or write, it's only going to go in your favor. And I think that's the way forward. Because the other thing I've noticed about social media, and like we were speaking about having so many likes and so many followers, is not necessarily, I mean, a classic example is with fitness or nutrition or health. You can have someone that's got the most perfect body, the perfect photos, maybe they've got thousands of followers, but not necessarily those followers actually investing in themselves and in that business. It's just that they follow that person because they think, wow, she's got a great body, and I'm going to like all of her meals that she's showing, all of her bikini shots. But they're not necessarily signing up with her for a program or whatever it is that this person's selling. So I think that's the thing to bear in mind, is not that it's, it's all about making sales, but it's about trying to provide value for people, and also building that trust, so people think, wow, what this person is offering is going to really change my life. It's something that I would really like to invest some money in.
No, absolutely. So you're right. There's a lot of voyeurs around who just like watching people and seeing people, which is fine. Which is why things like Gogglebox is very intriguing. Just watching people watching TV. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
I know, it is crazy. It is a strange program, but it's so addictive if you're not careful.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, no, absolutely, and I love the way that you talked about collaboration, and I think I've met someone who's probably coming on a little bit later, who may be one of the collaborators you're talking about, a lady called Rebecca.
Yes, yeah,
she's right. Coming on a little bit later. She says one of the nice things she found, the same thing, is a little collaboration with you and I think someone else, as well, which is
that's right.
No, so it's brilliant, and you're right, and that is necessarily sort of I know one of the advantages again of our our virtual connections we can make. We can make connections with people because Rebecca lives in Edinburgh, doesn't she? So it's the other side of the country from you.
Yeah, couldn't get any further away.
No, absolutely. Well, just about, but not far. But yeah, no. So, and I think that's the beauty of the way we the way we can interact now, is we can make connections with people we never would have thought to, and again, we're not, it's part and parcel of who I am. We are bigger and better together. We're an organism or a species that's essentially the only reason we've got to where we are is because we work together. We've got we're slow. We've got no claws to speak of, and we've got teeth that can barely chew on a piece of meat. Yet we have managed to survive and thrive and grow and probably ruin the earth a little bit, but we've managed to get to where we are purely on collaboration and teamwork, and you're right, and I think that's definitely the way to go forward. So now and I will look forward to, and like I said, I'm speaking to, I think, Rebecca in the new year, so we'll see how it goes by then, see how far you've progressed with your collaboration, which would be brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'll have a catch up. This is very much this conversation started, or this series, or this. People call these things a show. It isn't a show because it's way too grey, way too amateur for that. But essentially, the reason I'm doing these lives is in the middle of the week, is to give people a little bit of a spur to help them through to the next week. So with that in mind, are there things that you use to keep you focused during the week? What is it? If you've got a tip you can share with the people who would potentially come across this or watching now, that helps you keep going through, because as I said at the beginning of this, we start off on the Monday with all good intentions, come to Wednesday, and sometimes the world and the environment has sent you off on a tangent, and you need to refocus. So what do you use?
Yeah, I think the main one, which is quite simple, and I almost wish it was more complicated because I think, again, the way that we think it has to be complicated in order for it to work. I think it's nice and simple. It's just movement. You get to the middle of the week, you realize there's things that you should have done that you haven't done. For me at the moment, like the movement has been incredibly hard. I wanted to exercise throughout my whole pregnancy and it hasn't worked out like that. But one of the things that I am still able to do is walk. So every morning I'll get up and I'll take my dog Sky for, if I can, like a long walk. It might be that it's a very slow pace. I love being out in fresh air, but I find that, when I set that time aside, and I make that effort, it helps obviously to have a dog because I have to take her out. But when I do that, I come back and I feel ready. Then I feel ready to start my day. I feel ready to take on those tasks. So it's it might be that in the afternoon people could just set a time aside to do that, or whatever type of exercise it is. I think it's not necessarily, I used to always exercise to lose weight and to tone up, but I think actually now it's so much more than that. Talking about Tony Robbins, he talks a lot about where does energy come from, and people think food, and all of these typical answers. But actually, when we move our bodies, like our bodies are designed to move, and particularly with being online and or being at a desk all day, it's no wonder that we struggle with our mental health and our energy levels. So it's not about exercising to look good or to be toned, but for your mind just to kind of recalibrate and get that energy, get that motivation, and get out of that headspace as well is so important.
No, brilliant. I agree with you completely. One of the things you talk about, sitting down, your feet are very much like a second pump sometimes, and if you don't use them, it helps to get the blood flowing through your body, and again, blood through your body keeps your mind fresh as well. So you're right. Yeah, just getting up and moving is a great way. So thanks for that. I'm conscious we could chat for ages. There is one final topic, and it's something I'm going to spring on you because I haven't sent you, because I before we do this, just I give you a little bit of an indication of the sort of topics we're going to go through. And this is we talked earlier, and again I said that we have a little bit of a chat beforehand that we probably should have brought on. It was a lovely chat about Joe Rogan.
Yes.
And we talked about him. He, another podcast that I listen to, or a podcast I listen to, is Tim Ferriss as well. And I've nicked, basically, he's got a book called Tools of Titans. And I've nicked one of his questions, and I might see if I can spin on you. And I'm aware that I've sprung it on you. But the question is that... I read a lot, and I love to hear what people are reading. And he mentioned that sometimes it's difficult if you say what's your favorite book. It's difficult because essentially, as people are reading, it might be the latest favorite. But he gets a better understanding of what people are reading by asking them, "What is your favorite book to recommend to other people to read, or what is the one you gift to people more often, if you're going to give someone a gift of a book." So I know I've spun this on you, so I will give you if you want a little bit of time and to think about, and there's no right or wrong answer to this, definitely, obviously, but it's an intriguing topic. I love to hear what people are reading and what would they would recommend.
I think there's many, but I think, and I'm a great fan of Audible, so I do love it. I love a good book to hold on to, and I think if I was traveling, going on a plane or on holiday on a sunbed, I would definitely gravitate towards a book. But lifestyle now, I definitely spend a lot of time on Audible, and there's been so many books, but the one that springs to mind, and I don't even know why I'm saying this, because I'm struggling to sort of remember it, but someone recommended it to me, and it's called Untethered Soul.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember who the author is. but it's a very if anyone ever likes Eckhart Tolle,
Oh yes,
um,
yeah,
it's very similar to him, um, and it's very much about how we think, and I guess you could say it's kind of, I hate using the word spiritual because it doesn't really, people use it very loosely
yeah.
now, but it is a spiritual book, and I think it kind of it reaches out and sort of touches your soul. So I would definitely say Untethered Soul. I can't remember who the author is, but you can, yeah, I listened to it on Audible,
Indeed.
and a few years ago now when it was recommended to me, and I took great comfort in it. So I hope others can as well.
Indeed, lovely. Thank you. I mean, that's a book I haven't heard, which is I've read Eckhart Tolle, but yeah, no. So I'll hunt that down and I'll see if I can put a link in the comments
Oh,
as well.
thank you,
So that'd be
Mark.
good. But no, yeah, interesting. Thank you very much for that. Like I said, I'm conscious we've been chatting and we could chat for ages, but just quickly before we wrap up a little bit, and I'm pretty certain, like I said, I'll talk to Rebecca a little bit later on. I'd love to have you back on to see how you're getting on with that. But in the meantime, if people wanted to, we talk about follows and likes. If people want to find out where you are, have a look at what you do. Just quickly, sort of, could you tell them where's the best place to find you on the socials or in the world of the internet?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Instagram as Body Mastery Limited, just LTD. I'm
Yep.
not a limited company, actually. That's another story.
Okay.
But yeah, Body Mastery Ltd.
Yep.
And it's the same on Facebook, or you can find me on LinkedIn under Lee Cooper,
Brilliant.
which
And
is
again, I'll put the links in the various different chats, so people want to follow you
oh,
and
and
read more
my
stuff.
website, I've forgotten about that as well. That's
Okay.
Body Mastery Ltd.com. So
Brilliant.
yeah,
Lovely. Lovely. Cool.
thank you, Mark, for that opportunity.
Absolutely, and we'd love to sort of, like I said, do keep in touch, and I'd love to. And congratulations, and look after yourself
Oh,
for
thank
December. Have a
you.
great Christmas with the new one. Fingers crossed it comes before Christmas.
Thange you.
although
And you and
although in
Lisa as well.
in all respects, it's one of those awkward times for children. I know a couple of people born in December. My daughter's fiance is I think he's around the 20, or maybe not, but and my other son's also married a December baby, and they 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 complain a lot about Christmas and Christmas presents and birthdays and birthday presents.
Yeah,
So you'll have to work out what you're going to do for that going forward. Either way.
that's so true. They do have
I know,
a
indeed.
bit of a
They
disadvantage there.
they do moan a little bit, but I'm sure it works out in the end. So enjoy that, and I'd love to speak to you more. But for the time being, thank you for spending the hour with me. It's been a great conversation. I've loved chatting to you, and we will
Likewise.
speak more. So love you, Lo, and speak to you soon.
Thanks, Mark.
Hi there. It's me at the end of the show. I'm glad I got an opportunity to speak to Lee. It's a lovely conversation. Hope you enjoyed it too. As I've said beforehand, I'm looking to have more and more of these with anyone and everyone to chat about what they do in their business. So if you'd love to come along, then do let me know. Contact me. If you know someone who you'd love me to come and talk to, then also let me know. But in the meantime, have a great second half, and I will see you next time.